Okay, so hot take time. I mean, is it really a hot take to not like a single video game movie?
All of them.
And when I mean all of them, I mean every single video game adaptation is terribly uninspired. I mean, just tell me one that has blown your mind for being the best movie of all time. That's right, you can't even name one that's a decent movie. And no, that doesn't count, and neither does this, and that one isn't even a video game adaptation, but whatever. The live-action video game adaptations are always the
worst movies ever known to mankind.
And the animated ones are usually just weird, janky, somewhere in the uncanny valley. It's just, none of them are good. Okay, for example, this list that we're about to go through, it shows every single video game movie out there. The highest rating on Rotten Tomatoes being a 69% for Detective Pikachu, which is probably the best of this list. The highest one on Metacritic being a 58, with it being Mortal Kombat. Somehow, I don't know how, but it is what it is. Okay, so throughout this new series, we will be taking a look at every single video game movie on this list. Oh my god, we'll like between the ones made by Uwe Boll and the Resident Evil franchise that looks completely different from the games. There are tons of different movies that I want to rip apart, but the ones that we're going to talk about today are Detective Pikachu and Mortal Kombat, because supposedly those are the best ones off this list, and also because I've actually watched those movies. Donshay is also here to help me with this, but let's go ahead and get rid of some of these movies. So I watched this with my mother for some reason, and we both were laughing all throughout this movie, or at least I was. For a movie that takes itself way too seriously, it can't be taken seriously at all. When it comes to the acting, the choreography, when they're fighting, and especially with the CGI and digital effects, Toy Story came out the same year. There's no excuse for this. The credit sequence is ridiculous, the fighting is hilarious, the movie is just so confusing. It starts out with 3 different character sub-stories converging into one. The characters being Liu Kang and his dead brother, Sonya Blade and your huge gun, and Johnny Cage with those sunglasses. Oh yeah, and we have Jax. Oh, I mean, Art? Man, this plot is so confusing. We have them going on a boat, going towards a tournament where like nothing happens. The antagonists are Goro, who looks like a puppet, and Kano, whose accent is totally rubbish.
See me, I believe in a fair fight. You know, one-on-one, man-to-man.
Why is everyone such a terrible actor in this movie? Especially Raiden. I mean, his voice goes from Yoda to completely normal in just like the same sentence, and it doesn't make any sense why it does that.
We're fighting for the fate of the world!
That's why you left the temple and ran away, isn't it? The great tournament was too much responsibility. But vengeance, that's so much simpler.
You're still running away from your destiny.
Reptile is the ugliest thing I've ever seen. And then he turns completely normal out of nowhere for some reason. Poor Jax gets like 0 seconds of screen time. God, this movie sucks and was really boring to rewatch, to be completely honest with you. Okay, look, everybody does what they set out to do except Art, because of course not. He gets killed by bad breath. Because of course the 2 black characters get barely any screen time, and one of them literally has his soul ripped out. The characters sure do care about some random person who they barely know at all. Sonya, who never even spoke to him one time in this movie, shows more emotion when he dies than she does in any other scene. And how come Sub-Zero and Scorpion look like costumes from Party City? Oh yeah, and the graphics when they fight are just, so good. Oh yeah, did I mention that the acting is terrible?
Alright, tough guy, you wanna get rough?
No, do you?
Hi. Johnny Cage, you are?
Where's Kano?
I don't know who you're talking about. But I'm sure I can help you find him.
Out of my way.
Just another starstruck fan, huh?
It's like out of a middle school play, except if they just don't remember any of the lines. You know, like none of them had any direction whatsoever. They like, who are these actors? There's so much exposition, which makes this movie so much more boring than it has to be. A movie about fighting, and there's barely any fighting in it. It's all montages, but just not much fighting. Raiden is the worst character I've ever had to endure. I'm recording. His laugh in one scene was enough for me to stop rewatching this crappy film.
The fate of billions will depend upon you.
There's a lot more to say about this, but we got more things to attend to. But before that, I want to show you this quick scene, and then we can move on to the next movie.
No, don't. Oh, give me a break.
Okay.
So originally, many people don't know this, but there was actually an animated Sonic movie back in the 90s, and it was kind of done in like this anime style as well. So it's not really a full-length movie, it's more like a Japanese OVA that's split into two parts. So the first part involves Sonic and Tails getting a mission from the president to go to the Land of Darkness to defeat Metal Eggman, but during this part they also meet up with Knuckles. So the second part starts off where the first part ended, where they're first introduced to Metal Sonic, and at the end of the movie they have the rematch, and then that's pretty much what ends the conflict. So the worst parts about this movie, the President's daughter is probably the most worthless character ever created. She has no purpose, she's annoying, and she really has no reason to be there at all. And I just... Why does she exist? Why is she here? Stop it.
I love it! Somebody stop me! I have more power than I thought I did!
There you are, Sarah. It's time for you to come with me now.
So, watching this movie in English is hilarious because the English voice acting is very funny.
Robotnik! We have some business to take care of, but we can finish this game when we get back!
It is so bad, it's good.
Sonic! Help me! Wake up, Sonic! Come on! Help! Nick, help me! Wake up, Sonic!
Shut up, Tails!
And it's like the reason to watch this movie because of it's so bad.
You might know everything I'm going to do, but that's not going to help you, since I know everything you're going to do! Strange, isn't it?
Oh no!
Not to mention, mixed with the bad writing, it also makes the voice acting that funnier.
How is it that you're still alive, Sonic? What? What's wrong with you? What are you doing?
Don't there, you pervert!
I get it. You're synchronizing yourself with metal. And this is my chance.
Because the writing is so corny and terrible, and God. So here I guess I'll just talk about some random things I found interesting about the movie. So like there's this owl character, and unlike the new Sonic movie that just came out, he's like an actual anthropomorphic owl and not some realistic looking owl, and he actually fits with the setting. I just thought that was interesting. He doesn't do much, but I just thought I'd add that. So I kind of found this movie to be more faithful to the game, because I don't know, it just seems like the whole Land of the Sky, Land of Darkness thing would be a thing that would fit with like a Sonic universe, instead of just being like, oh, we're at San Francisco now, and oh, we have this dumb police officer character, and Sonic is terrible. as you can tell, I don't like the new Sonic movie, it's trash. But yeah, I just liked the setting more, and I liked just how the characters were portrayed in this movie more, even though the dialogue is terrible, still. I just still liked it more than the new movie. Oh yeah, something else I like to add, for some reason, Knuckles in this movie is wearing a cowboy hat and shades. I don't know why. I kinda like it, but like, that wasn't in anything before. And apparently Sonic does have clothes, because you can see the owl character wearing Sonic's favorite clothes, apparently. Because Tails like yells at him like, oh, Sonic's gonna get mad. Like,
You've come home early.
Those are Sonic's favorite clothes, so don't blame me if he gets mad at you.
there's some interesting things in this movie, but it's like, it's not, you don't see it in any other Sonic media. It's strange. So, I kind of don't think the action scenes are too bad in this film. They're actually kind of, like, they're not the coolest thing in the world, but I still think they're kind of like, they're more interesting to look at than the Sonic movie action scenes, if you want to call them action. But yeah, I don't know, like, the anime style I think is good for, you know, the Sonic series, and I think the action scenes are a good example of that in this movie. They're nothing special, again, but I just thought they were more interesting to look at. So the last thing from this movie I want to talk about is the ending theme called Look-alike, and it's basically talking about things that are similar, but not the same. And there's a line where she says, like, what I say and what I think. And I think that's kind of, like, surprisingly poetic and deep for a movie where a hedgehog fights Teddy Roosevelt. I don't know, I just thought that was interesting. So, in conclusion, I do like this movie far better than the new Sonic movie that came out. And, but despite that, I still don't think it's the greatest. And it's still not a very good movie, because, you know, it's still a video game movie at the end of the day. I just think it's a fun movie to revisit every now and then, just to make fun of, like, oh look, his voice is terrible, why does Sonic sound like that? Like, I just think it's fun to make fun of. I don't think it's bad, but it's not exactly the greatest either. Watch it with your friends and make fun of it.
I watched this on my birthday with Don, who was also watching it on his birthday. We both did not like this movie because it sucked. The end. Thanks for watching. Bye. Okay, fine. Nothing in this movie is redeemable whatsoever. It's either meh or bleh. Okay, nothing surprising since it's a conspiracy plot that I've surely never seen before, with an ending that is just the worst. Oh my god. Okay, it starts off with this boring kid living in a boring non-Pokemon life until his father came back from the grocery store just to leave again. Or did he? Yes, ladies and gentlemen, you heard me right. Wait, I didn't say it. Spoiler alert, his father was inside the Pikachu all along? Doesn't explain why he is the only person who could hear him, but whatever. Deadpool as Pikachu isn't the worst thing I've heard, but as you already heard me say, yeah, it's annoying at this point. It was funny the first time, but time after time after time again with the same jokes over and over and over again, it's just stupid. It's Deadpool, but for kids. The acting from Misty, or whatever her name was actually supposed to be, was atrocious. Holy shit, dude.
We need to talk.
We do?
I've been waiting to see who would open up that mailbox. You just walked into quite a story. Stories like this spread fear, and they're afraid of fear. But I don't fear fear. I walk the walk and I talk the talk, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get the honest scoop, and that's the hard truth.
I'm sorry. Who are you?
Was she supposed to act this bad? Because no. Just no. Oh yeah, the plot. Okay, so they go on this grand adventure to find his father and end up uncovering this conspiracy corporate thing going on with Mewtwo. Plot twist, Mewtwo is actually the good guy all along. My god, Mewtwo is so scary looking. His voice is just awful.
The father you have been looking for
has been with you all along.
And what is the CGI? It's either too creepy or a boring interpretation of what it already looked like from the beginning. Which is fine, but like, come on. It's like, the movie looked like it was going to take some risks, and it just ended up being another boring kids movie. How is this the best out of all the gaming movies? Oh god.
So now it's time to talk about one of the worst video game movies to ever exist, The House of the Dead. So the game House of the Dead takes place in Kurian Mansion, and the villain is Roy Kurian. And you have to stop him because he's the one that caused the zombie outbreak. But instead, this movie takes place on like some kind of island where this group of friends is trying to go to a rave. And I don't know why they chose to change the story. There is so much wrong with this movie. Like, I think the most obvious is that the characters are so unlikable and forgettable. Like, for example, there's this one Asian girl that's part of the group, and she's wearing like this bad-looking American flag outfit, and her name is Liberty. Like, why? Why did they do this? And then, of course, the main character gets introduced like 30 minutes in, and of course he has amnesia, and I'll get into that later and why that's stupid. But characters are just bad, and you don't care for them at all. Another bad thing about this movie is that the production value is awful. Some scenes you can hardly hear what the characters are saying, mostly because the acting is bad, but also because it's too quiet, and there's a lot of loud sound effects that like drown out the actors. Some action scenes, there's one action scene in particular where it shows like the whole team, the whole single game that's in this movie, nothing else. And it's even more jarring when during the big action scene of the movie, it's like there's scenes shifting from the game to the actual movie, and they're trying to like compare them side by side, it seems, but like in the game scenes they're in Kurian Mansion hallways, but half of this movie takes place outside in the woods, so it doesn't match up at all. And it's like, oh look, you're watching House of the Dead. No, we're not. We're not. It's not even close. They didn't even try with this movie, I swear. But now it is time to talk about the worst thing about this movie. The twist at the end. So I had already mentioned the main character that gets introduced like 30 minutes into the movie, and so it turns out that he is the last one that survives. And so the helicopter comes to save him, and the cops come out and like bring him in the helicopter. And the cops ask him, hey, what's your name? Gives him his name. Then the cops say, so you have a last name? And the main character responds with, Kurian. The first time I heard this twist, I literally wanted to kill myself. It was so terrible. Don't watch this movie. It's bad. It is probably the worst adaptation I'd ever seen of a video game. It's not good. It's not good at all. And say what you will about these other adaptations, and I know these movies aren't video game adaptations, but Dragon Ball Evolution or The Last Airbender, at least they had some of the source material. At least they had a little bit of it, even though those movies were also terrible. At least they had some correlation. House of the Dead has none of that at all. It has no correlation whatsoever. It's just, you have to ask, who is this movie for? Because it's not for House of the Dead fans, because it has nothing to do with it. And it's not even for non-House of the Dead fans because the movie's so bad anyway. This movie is literally for no one.
It's
Have
been
you
quite
ever
a
played
bit
a game during your childhood
since
that
I've
you
just
fondly
sat at
remember,
this
but hear
desk
nothing about,
and
or
just
play a
talked
game
about
that's just so amazing, yet
We haven't
nobody
really
has
done
ever
a proper
mentioned it,
SVU
and you
episode
even
since
wonder why you even got the game in the first place.
last decade.
The title may be a bit of an oxymoron, but
I'm sorry.
the point of this
Let's
series
just
is
go
to
ahead and
take a
get
look at
started
some
with
obscure
the
games that
topic
we deem
of
classic worthy,
fighting games.
either
Yo.
at the time or
Okay,
recently.
so the whole
Now keep
genre
in
of
mind
fighting. Well, boys, we are going to slowly find out during this amazing series that's totally original and well planned out. Well, ladies and gentlemen, time to watch more bad gaming movies. Bye. Perfect timing, I guess.